Welcome to Yield Nerd, an educational show about how you can acquire and manage yield.
All right, yield nerds. Now, for this holiday weekend, I thought I would discuss something very exciting, very action oriented. By that, I mean the most boring growth stock with great potential. I'll tell you more. We are up to 369 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. We're coming up on 2 years since our launch. And if you're new, please use the Income Investing Roadmap, which is a playlist. And always remember, I do not have any magical powers. Make sure that you check my work and make your own decisions. Well, we have 4 items in today's agenda. The first is we'll take a quick look at the market. And as you can tell, the market is full of these fancy race cars with NASDAQ roaring past me. I just walk and I go slow and steady, but we'll do a quick temperature check. And then, speaking of boring, I wanted to kind of review what makes CalMaine Foods boring, what makes TK Tankers boring, and review another very boring value stock. Hint, hint, I did buy that very boring value stock, and I'll review my trades as well. Well, I am more of a steady Eddie for those of you who are new. My return for the last year is roughly 6.63%, and that is mostly state tax free. And I don't have the giant ups and downs of the NASDAQ as you can see in the last 3 months, and I'm that blue line. But I play the long game, and I'm hoping I'm playing the right long game. We'll see. Speaking of the long game, my allocation to equities has slowly but surely increased over the last 3 months. Have gone from less than 0.5% to roughly 1.36%. I do have, I'm showing a lot of cash on hand, but that is mainly because I'm in a treasury auction that will settle in a couple of hours. And so that will go back to blue as well, leaving me with about 1.36% in equities. Well, how do I allocate my assets? It hasn't changed too much, except the equity is increasing. I'm mostly in treasuries, and I do have some investment grade corporates that are longer term. As far as duration goes, I am predominantly in short term, while allocating a little bit to the 20-year range, and that is for a specific reason that I explained in some previous episodes. So now we'll come to the crux of today's episode, which is boring growth stocks, if there is such a thing. So what makes CalMaine Foods, which is one of my all-time favorites along with TK Tankers, what makes CalMaine Foods and TK Tankers boring? And here is what I think the main factors are, and I want to make sure you understand. I am not an investment advisor, I'm not a tax advisor or a wealth management advisor. I study the market, I teach myself, I'm sharing my learnings. So please realize I'm not pitching any snake sauce, I'm not pitching any product or politics either. CalMaine Foods is the largest producer of shell eggs in the country. Conflict of interest, I own CalMaine Foods. Do your own research. And in terms of the reach into the country, CalMaine Foods, pretty much for 80% of the country, is the exclusive franchise territory holder of Eggland's Best Eggs. That is not the only egg they own. They own 60 brands of eggs. So pretty much if you're buying eggs, you're buying their eggs. You just don't know it. And in terms of their market reach and their scale, here are some numbers that are mind-boggling. They process and package 600,000 dozen. That is 7 million eggs an hour. Go figure that. And they hatch about 780,000 chicks a week. This is just an absolutely insane scale. The reason I call out the scale and the national reach is if they have a pricing strategy, it is very hard to get out of that if you're a retailer. If they say, I want to vaccinate my chicken because I want to protect them against disease, they can withstand a slight increase in the price of the vaccine As a matter of fact, they make their own chicken feed. So if the price of chicken feed goes up, they are relatively insulated. And check this out, they make 950 tons of chicken feed in 1 hour. That is what it takes to run an operation of this size. And that kind of scale gives them the ability to weather a lot of storm. Speaking of storms, you can see that the price of egg has also gone meteorically up. And it came down quite a bit and everybody was celebrating, and now we are crawling right back up in the price of eggs. So CalMaine stands to benefit from increase in price of eggs as long as they can keep disease low and as long as they can keep their scale. So what did the market do to reward this kind of a quiet giant? The market accelerated their stock price just in the last 5 years by about 70%. They have no debt. They have 800 million of cash sitting around, as evidenced by the fact that their market cap is 3.16 billion, but their enterprise value is only 2.3 billion. If you invested in CalMaine Foods, you're doing very well. You're making a return on assets of 13%, return on equity of 16%, just absolutely fantastic all-around numbers for the long-time shareholder. Well, at least that is my opinion. So the question then is, is there another boring value stock? Now, TK Tankers is one of them. I love TK Tankers, mainly because they also have a huge geographic presence. They have newer tankers. They can set rates. But here comes a third one. And let me explain. The third one is in a suspense commodity, and I'll tell you what the commodity is as we go along. And what struck me is that during the recession of the 90s, the price of the suspense commodity went up. During 9/11 and the year following that, the price went up. During the great financial crisis, the price went up. During COVID, the price went up. You sit here and go, whoa, 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 what is this thing? What is this secret commodity? Well, I'll give you a hint. This secret commodity is used in highway construction. It's used in commercial and residential buildings. It's used to make paper. It's also used to make glass. It's used to make steel. It's used to purify water. It's used to make roof shingles. It's used to make oil and gas. And oh, by the way, it's also used in chicken farms. If you figured out what that is very nice. You certainly figured it out faster than me. And then you sit and go, okay, well, there is this commodity which has enormous and varied uses. What does this company do and where are they? Well, they are in the south central region of the United States. So they are headquartered in Texas, but they do business in Arkansas, Colorado, Louisiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas. So they've kind of cornered that part of the market. And they're expanding from there outwards. So if you need that commodity in those 6 states, this is the only game in town. The commodity cannot be transferred easily in the sense that, it's such a low price commodity, which still is increasing in price, that you can't really ship it from North Dakota to Oklahoma as an example. So you're stuck with buying it locally. And these guys are the CalMaine Foods of that commodity. Next, we start diving deeper and you read their 10Q. Their 10Q says, well, sales volume decreased in one segment. Well, so we just increased the price in another segment. That is beyond nuts. What that tells me is that there is no game in town. If you don't buy from this particular company, you really cannot, in a cost-effective manner, source it from a different company. And so when one segment, has a problem, they merely shift the price and the volume to another segment. And then they tell you why that one segment had a problem. Also from their 10Q, it rained, construction projects in South Central United States were delayed, and so we couldn't sell as much, but we made our money elsewhere. If the rain stops, we will sell more. Remember, they are used in construction of roads and bridges and water sanitation. So when there is a flood, then the flood waters will create water purification problems, and this company will actually sell more of its product. And slightly more on the suspense company before I do the big reveal. As you can tell in their balance sheet, their cash is up by 20%. Their liabilities are down by 10%. You go, wait a second. If your assets are up by 10% and your liability is down by 20%, what that does is magic to what is called retained earnings, meaning the shareholders' value goes up very, very quickly. Their financials give you the same story. This is a company with a 39% operating profit. It is better than any software company, as crazy as it is. Their net income, after paying interest and everything else, their net income is 34%. You cannot find too many companies with profit like that. And drumroll, the company that is used in so many different sectors and sets the price at will is US Lime and Minerals. The ticker is USLM. Warning, they don't have a huge trading volume. Their trading volume is less than CalMaine Foods and TK Tankers, so the spread is somewhat high, so be careful about buying them. You may end up paying slightly more than you want, but they do have a salty giant performance when it comes to their equity prices. It has only gone up by a mere 715% in the last 5 years. They are a 2 billion market cap company. You remember CalMaine Foods used to be 2 billion, now it is 3 billion. They also don't have debt and they have a huge pile of cash on their bank account. And look at this, when you compare their return on assets, their return on equity, and their return on invested capital, they beat CalMaine Foods. So absolutely stunning numbers here. And so that informed my trades. And so I will tell you what I ended up doing. In terms of my trades, yes, I had some more agency bonds being called. If you own any agency bonds at all, you probably saw a whole bunch of them get called as well. I am participating in some treasury auctions, and you may have remembered from my earlier point that I show cash in my account, and that is because I'm lining up for the auctions. And in terms of my transactions, here it is. I bought USLM. Aside from that, I bought some of my other favorites that I buy in buckets whenever I can. I buy some ORCAT, I bought some TK Tankers, which I still accumulate. And you may remember from the previous week, I mentioned there is something called ELTP, Elite Pharmaceuticals, and they trade at a very low price, but I want to warn you, they are an OTC pink, blue book stock, so there is an $8 transaction fee anytime you trade, so watch out. But I believe in them as much as I do in ITCI, which is a pharma stock. So I kind of am diversifying, but again, staying in the defensive sectors, pharma, defense or military, and food. So here is where I am. A bulk of my holdings are in Redcat. Elite is new. Tenet Healthcare is also healthcare. So this is pretty much food, health, and military. And I'm up 7% overall on 1.36% of my portfolio. And so having said that, please remember you have to make your own decisions. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. And happy Labor Day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Yield Nerd, a do-it-yourself show for yield accumulation and management.